We all know the story. Xavi Hernandez left the Barca bench full of doubts, criticism and uncertainty.
Què ha passat? Que ja l'entrenador en un moment determinat denota que no es veia capaç per la pressió que hi havia en aquell moment, no? El mes de febrer.
There was talk of his lack of experience, his problems with the board and the team's inability to compete in Europe.
Y bueno, esta es nuestra realidad ahora, afrontar lo que viene, intentar desconectar ya de la Champions, pensar en las otras competiciones que nos vienen y afrontar la realidad, ¿no?
But there is something that many have forgotten, something that's not shown in the stats or on the front pages. Barca can't be understood without Xavi Hernandez. He was the one who convinced Jules Koundé to join Barca when he had offers from the Premier League.
Here's Koundé, right-footed drive, well taken by Jules Koundé.
He trusted an unknown Pau Kubasi and gave him his debut when no one else saw him as an option. He stopped Xavi's departure when the midfielder was about to leave the club in the middle of an economic crisis. He was the one who believed in Lamine Yamal when he was 15 and gave him minutes in the first team before any other coach dared to do so.
He's got Lamine Yamal into the roof of the net!
And he believed in Fermin Lopez when Lopez had no place in the reserve team and no one thought he would become a key player for Barca. Yes, Hansi Flick is taking the team to a new level, but a big part of the current Barca is Xavi Hernandez's work. This is the hidden truth about Xavi that no one has seen until now, and it changes everything about his time on the Barca bench. Xavi Hernandez was dismissed as FC Barcelona's head coach in May 2024 after 2.5 years at the helm. During his tenure, he managed a total of 143 matches, achieving 91 wins, 23 draws and 29 losses, a win rate of 63.6%. Under his leadership, the team scored 274 goals and conceded 155. Despite these numbers, the title successes were limited. In the 2022 to 2023 season, Barcelona won La Liga and the Spanish Super Cup. However, in the following seasons, the club failed to add any more trophies to its cabinet. Xavi's dismissal surprised many, especially since he had been reappointed by the board just a month earlier.
La conclusión final es la de seguir creyendo en el proyecto por barcelonismo y sobre todo la de, para mí me quedo con la reafirmación o la constatación de que como entrenador del primer equipo tenemos a una persona extraordinaria con unos conocimientos del fútbol excepcionales y pues con un sentimiento culé que transmite ilusión.
Nevertheless, a series of poor results and controversial statements that sparked internal tensions led the board to reconsider his position. When Xavi Hernandez was hired as Barca's coach in November 2021, it wasn't just a sporting decision, it was a declaration of intent. His appointment symbolised the hope of reviving the club's most glorious era, the same era he had led on the pitch during 17 seasons under Frank Rijkaard, Pep Guardiola and Luis Enrique. Xavi was more than an exceptional midfielder. He was the brain of the team, the player who understood Barca football better than anyone, the man who executed and perfected the philosophy that once made the club the best team in the world.
Solo puedo decir una cosa, como os dije el día que me fui del Barça, somos el mejor equipo del mundo. Y trabajaremos con mucha exigencia para conseguir los éxitos. El Barça no se puede permitir ni empatar ni perder. Tenemos que ganar cada partido.
The mission to recover the Blaugrana DNA. When Chavi took charge, his promise was clear: to restore Barca to its essence, to bring back the offensive, positional and unencumbered style of football that once led the club to the top. But the challenge was monumental. The club was far from what he left in 2015 after winning the team's last Champions League. Expectations were enormous. Xavi had set records with 767 matches and 25 trophies won, until he was surpassed by Leo Messi. Now the task was even tougher: to rebuild a weakened team affected by financial issues, the traumatic departure of Messi, and a dressing room divided between declining veterans and inexperienced youngsters at the elite level. The beginnings of his project were hopeful, but they also highlighted the enormity of the challenge. Although the team showed progress in their play, the final stretch of the season was a reality check. Elimination in the Copa del Rey round of 16 against Athletic Club. Failure in the Europa League quarter-finals against Eintracht Frankfurt, marked by a historic invasion of German fans at Camp Nou. Despite these setbacks, the framework of Xavi's project began to take shape. The team started to build itself around the club's last great idols, like Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba, and a new generation of talents led by Ronald Araujo, Pedri, and Xavi. Season 2021 to 2022, the promise of a new Barca. In November 2021, Ronald Koeman had nearly ruined the team.
Koeman no llegó para construir nada, llegó para destruir lo que había, que ciertamente es algo que ya estaba agotado.
The Blaugranas were not only in crisis, they were a complete disaster. 9th in La Liga, 12 points adrift of the leaders after 13 rounds, and effectively out of the Champions League race. It was an unrecognisable Barca, and although Xavi couldn't prevent the team's first group stage elimination in the Champions League since the 2000 to 2001 season, the squad began showing signs of improvement in the second half of the campaign.
Y esta es la realidad, la dura realidad que tenemos ahora.
Winter market reinforcements, despite the club's financial constraints, helped in the recovery. Players like Aubameyang, Ferran Torres and Adama Traoré provided immediate solutions. Although no titles were won, Xavi managed to achieve some important milestones. He was a finalist in the Spanish Super Cup, where Barca lost 2-3 to Real Madrid, a match in which Barca once again competed head-to-head.
Mi sensación hoy es de injusticia máxima, es decir, lo ha visto todo el mundo, esta es mi sensación, de que no ha sido justo hoy el encuentro.
He led the team on a 10-match unbeaten run in La Liga between January and April. A historic 4-0 thrashing at the Santiago Bernabeu against Real Madrid gave the culés hope for the team's resurgence. Season 2023 to 2024, the fall and the end of the project. Xavi renewed his contract in September 2023, extending it until June 2025, with the hope of consolidating the team's growth. But what seemed to confirm a competitive and winning Barcelona soon turned into a free fall. The warning signs were evident from the start of the season. The team conceded more goals, their pressing was less effective, possession did not translate into control of the matches, the attack lacked decisiveness. Although they managed to progress past the Champions League group stage, something they hadn't achieved in the previous 2 years, in La Liga they quickly fell out of the title race. At the end of the first half of the season, Barca was 7 points behind Real Madrid, and the overall feeling was that of a team without a clear direction. Whereas in the previous season, the Spanish Super Cup marked a positive turning point, in 2024, it became the trigger for the crisis. Barcelona were thrashed by Real Madrid, 4-1, in the final, a humiliating defeat that exposed all the team's shortcomings. The following weeks were even worse. Elimination in the Copa del Rey quarter-finals against Athletic Club by a 4-2 scoreline. A dismal home defeat against Villarreal, 3-5, leaving an overall desolate image. Xavi's project was on the brink of collapse, and the coach lost credibility in the eyes of the fans, primarily due to his lack of self-criticism regarding the team's poor performance.
No nos gusta jugar con sol. El sol nos molesta. El campo seco no nos beneficia.
On January 27th, 2024, following a series of disappointing results, Xavi announced his decision to leave his position at the end of the season. His message was clear.
M'agradaria anunciar doncs, que el 30 de juny no seguiré com a entrenador del Barça. És una decisió... Hem estat parlant ara amb el president, amb Rafa Yuste, amb Alejandro Echeverría, amb Deco i amb part de l'staff.
However, after the announcement, the team reached its best form of the season, stringing together 12 unbeaten matches and achieving a historic victory in Paris against PSG by 3-2 in the Champions League quarter-finals. But what seemed like a possible resurrection collapsed in 5 tragic days. Elimination in the Champions League against PSG by 4-1 on April 16th. A defeat in the Clásico against Real Madrid by 3-2 on April the 21st, effectively sealing La Liga's outcome. With a legitimate goal from Lamine Yamal being disallowed, the team once again fell out of the title race, confirming the end of the Chavi era on the bench. When Xavi's exit seemed imminent, an unexpected twist occurred on April the 24th. A meeting at Joan Laporta's residence between the board and the coach ended with the decision to retain him in charge until June 2025. Barca officially confirmed his continuity, but the instability and the coach's discourse about the lack of resources and squad depth failed to convince the board. Barely a month later, the club changed its mind again and decided to part ways with Xavi, marking the definitive end of his tenure as head coach. When a coach leaves his position, it is rarely just about football. Behind every dismissal, there are pressures, power struggles, and influence games within the boardroom. Xavi Hernandez's exit from FC Barcelona was no exception. Behind the scenes, many forces were at play, and at the centre of it all was Joan Laporta and his true intentions. Laporta never fully trusted Xavi as a coach. Even though Xavi led Barca to win La Liga in the 2022 to 2023 season, which was their first league title since 2019, Laporta was never completely convinced of him. Sources close to the president have revealed that his appointment was not Laporta's first choice, but rather an improvised solution. In 2021, when Ronald Koeman was dismissed, Laporta had already considered Hansi Flick for the position. Unable to find a viable alternative, he turned to Xavi, almost reluctantly, despite his status as a club legend. Laporta's main concern was Xavi's lack of coaching experience, as his only previous managerial reference was a brief stint at Al Sadd in Qatar. Xavi never felt the board's full support. There were always doubts about his ability to lead the project, and although his trophy haul gave him some credibility, defeats in Europe and the ups and downs in La Liga only reignited doubts in the presidential box. An internal battle beyond the sporting side, economic interests and agents also played a role in Xavi's downfall. One of the most contentious issues was the squad renewal, an area where Xavi and the board were never aligned. Xavi wanted a revolution in the squad. According to ESPN, the coach considered players such as Robert Lewandowski, João Felix, João Cancelo, and Vitor Roque expendable. The case of Lewandowski was especially delicate. His agent Pini Zahavi is also the representative for Hansi Flick, the coach whom Laporta ultimately chose as his successor. And, in truth, Xavi would have been mistaken to give the Polish striker more air after the current season. Sources close to the club claim that Zahavi has significant influence over Laporta, and although the president never stated it openly, he was reportedly in favour of a possible exit for the Polish forward. Xavi, on the other hand, saw Lewandowski as a problem for the team and sought a different profile in attack. This battle over transfers also had another tense episode involving Vitor Roque. The signing of the Brazilian was driven by Deco, who had worked as an advisor for Barca in South America before taking on the role of sporting director. Roque arrived in January 2024 for €31 million, but Xavi barely used him. In 14 La Liga matches, he only played 328 minutes. Before the match against Almeria, Xavi made it clear that Barca would have been better off waiting until the summer to sign him as originally planned. This statement did not sit well with the board, as it exposed a lack of alignment between the coach and the sporting direction. Such tensions further eroded Xavi's support within the club. When a coach finds himself in conflict with both the board and the agents of key players, his fate is practically sealed. The arrival of João Felix at Barcelona was another case that not only generated expectations on the field, but also unleashed internal tensions that affected the dressing room's cohesion and undermined Xavi Hernandez's authority as coach. According to an article by Sique Rodriguez for AS, the signing of João Felix was one of the factors that contributed to Xavi losing control of the locker room. This situation became evident during a particular match, when Rafinha, after being substituted by João Felix, publicly showed his displeasure. The Brazilian forward got into a verbal altercation with Oscar Hernandez, Xavi's brother and assistant, which created palpable tension within the team. This incident not only reflected Rafinha's frustration at being singled out, but also exposed internal divisions and a lack of harmony in the dressing room. Furthermore, internal sources confirmed that, although the relationship between Rafinha and the coaching staff was adequate, this episode left scars that affected the group's dynamic. The situation worsened when Xavi decided not to reprimand the players after a series of poor results, opting instead to cancel a previously promised reward rather than directly addressing the issues of attitude and performance. This lack of direct confrontation was interpreted by some as a sign of weakness, further eroding his authority with the team. The inheritance that Hansi Flick builds upon. We already know the outcome. Xavi Hernandez left the Barca bench, and with his departure, a chapter of light and shadow in the club's recent history came to an end. Yet what many may have overlooked is that the team competing at the highest level under Hansi Flick is largely built on the foundation that Xavi established. Barca has improved considerably under the German coach, dominating La Liga and even lifting the Spanish Super Cup after humiliating Real Madrid with a resounding 5-2. However, it's important to understand that the foundations of this success were laid under Xavi's guidance, who, with both mistakes and achievements, set the groundwork for the team that now inspires all Barca fans. To grasp the importance of Xavi's work, let's listen to how a coach who knows what it takes to build winning teams explains it. As mentioned earlier, Xavi was pivotal in reconstructing the team. He didn't inherit a club at its best. On the contrary, when he took over in 2021, Barca was on the brink of collapse, plagued by financial troubles with Messi gone, lacking a clear footballing identity, and far from Europe's elite. But little by little, Xavi built a new team. With the backing of strategic signings and a determined commitment to the youth academy, Barca gradually regained its competitiveness. Xavi's major transfer market bets: Robert Lewandowski. His signing in the summer of 2022 was a statement of authority. Although many questioned his age, Xavi considered him essential for restoring offensive power, and today he is the top scorer in both La Liga and the UEFA Champions League. Jules Koundé. He became a defensive pillar and a versatile player capable of operating as both a centre-back and a right-back. Today he is regarded as the best full-back in the world. Rafinha. Despite initial criticisms, Xavi trusted his verticality and developed him into a key winger, and today he is considered a candidate for the Ballon d'Or. But his greatest impact wasn't just through signings, it was also his confidence in the academy. The Gems Xavi promoted to the first team, Lamine Yamal. He was given minutes at just 15 years old, with Xavi believing in his talent and potential, a decision that is now paying off as he is considered the club's most prized jewel. Pau Kubasi. Xavi took a chance by giving him his debut at the top level, turning him into one of Barca's brightest defensive prospects. And today, he is poised to become one of the best centre-backs in the world. Fermin Lopez. Xavi backed him when he had no place even in the reserve team, and today he is a key midfielder, the best backup the team could ask for. The effort to retain Xavi. While other clubs tried to lure him away, Xavi fought to keep him at Barca, cementing his status as one of the future leaders of the team. Today, he even relegated a superstar like Marc Casado to the bench. All of this has put Barca in an unbeatable position to compete for everything in 2025. With the Spanish Super Cup already secured after a 5-2 thrashing of Madrid and leading La Liga in February, the season's crucial month, the team has the structure to aspire to all titles. This Barca is the result of an evolving project, and although Flick has refined many tactical aspects, the team's DNA still bears Xavi's influence. When discussing Xavi Hernandez's impact on Flick's current Barca, one key tactical element remains crucial: the midfield square and the positional superiority in the centre. In his first months on the bench, Xavi placed great emphasis on having two naturally wide wingers to stretch the opposing defence and create space in the middle. Ousmane Dembélé on the right and Alejandro Balde's overlapping runs on the left were responsible for providing width. However, over time, Xavi modified his approach, realising that controlling the midfield is the key to dominating matches. That's why, instead of using two wide wingers on both flanks, he added a fourth midfielder on the left side. The tactical key, the midfield square. In most matches, Pedri or Xavi have taken on the role of a false winger, starting from the left flank but constantly moving towards the centre. This system modification had a clear objective: to create numerical superiority in midfield, to draw opponents inward, thereby freeing up the flanks and creating space for Balde or Cancelo to establish smoother passing lanes and ensure controlled progression of the ball. With this, Barcelona began playing with a square in the centre of the pitch, formed by Pedri, Gavi, Sergio Busquets, Frenkie de Jong, and another central midfielder. The three key principles of the midfield square connecting defence with attack. There are always multiple options for the ball to flow naturally without bottlenecks during the build-up, creating a free man behind the rival midfield. With constant movements by Pedri or Xavi between the lines, space is created that forwards can exploit, forcing the opponent to retreat. If the rivals attempt to press high, the square provides stability, allowing for safe ball progression. And if the opposition collapses too much, De Jong or Busquets can comfortably receive the ball and distribute it without pressure. How Flick perfected this concept? When Flick arrived at Barca, he found an already well-established tactical structure, where the midfield square was key. However, he introduced adjustments that made the team even more unpredictable. Faster ball circulation. Under Chavi, the team prioritised possession and control. Flick maintained that idea but added more verticality and more aggressive passes toward the opponent's area. Wingers with greater freedom of movement. In Flick's system, wingers like Yamal, Rafinha, or sometimes Varane can either cut inside or attack the spaces. This flexibility allows the fullbacks to advance even further, generating more offensive options. Constant rotations in midfield. Flick has taken advantage of his midfielders' versatility to maintain dominance in the centre. They can interchange roles freely, allowing Pedri or Xavi to appear unexpectedly in attacking zones. This combination of principles and adjustments has made the midfield square a cornerstone of Flick's tactical approach at Barcelona. During the 2022-23 season, Xavi Hernandez experimented with a double pivot to balance the team both defensively and offensively. Sergio Busquets and Frenkie de Jong were chosen to occupy the midfield, with complementary roles designed to maximise both players' qualities. This tactical adjustment arose out of a defensive necessity, as Xavi's Barca was very vulnerable to counterattacks, often leaving Busquets outnumbered during transitions. How Xavi's double pivot worked defensively. De Jong shifted from an advanced position to playing alongside Busquets, allowing for better space occupation and making it more difficult for the opponent to progress. They shared defensive duties, covering vulnerable areas and closing passing lanes. Offensively, Busquets and De Jong alternated in building up the play, ensuring a cleaner exit from defence. Busquets' short, precise passing and De Jong's dribbling were essential in breaking through the rivals' pressure. By drawing opponents inward, Pedri and Xavi had more freedom to move between the lines and generate attacking play. This model, though functional, relied too heavily on Busquets, a player with great tactical intelligence but limited physical prowess in fast transitions. As the season progressed, it became clear that the team needed a more dynamic variant, something that Flick has successfully implemented. Flick's double pivot, more intensity and dynamism. With the arrival of Hansi Flick, Barcelona maintained the double pivot but introduced key adjustments that made the team more flexible, dynamic, and difficult to press. Instead of depending on a fixed positional pivot like Busquets, Flick opted for more versatile, mobile players, establishing two key partnerships in midfield, Pedri and Xavi, as well as Pedri and Casado. When Flick lined up Pedri and Xavi as the double pivot, a fundamental change was evident. The team became less predictable in its build-up and improved its pressing after losing possession. Both players can alternate roles. If Pedri drops deep to receive the ball, Xavi pushes forward into attack. If Xavi falls back to help defensively, Pedri takes on the role of the primary playmaker. Flick's evolution means that the duo now presses more aggressively on recovery. Unlike Busquets and De Jong, Pedri and Xavi can press high without leaving the defence exposed, allowing the team to recover the ball closer to the opponent's area and launch quick attacks. Consequently, the team gains superior midfield dominance. When Barca faces opponents with three midfielders, Pedri and Xavi add the mobility needed to generate constant passing options. This facilitates rapid transitions while maintaining control of possession. That said, Flick has also implemented a more balanced variant with Pedri and Casado. When Flick seeks greater stability in midfield, the Pedri-Casado duo is the best option. Casado acts as the defensive pivot, freeing Pedri to roam. While Casado maintains a more positional role, Pedri is free to move between lines and break defences with his vision. This structure ensures a more organised build-up and better control of the game's pace. Casado provides defensive security. Unlike De Jong, he is more tactically disciplined, ensuring proper coverage when the ball is lost. Together, they enable Barca to maintain possession for long spells without sacrificing game fluidity. Flick's adjustments to the double pivot have thus evolved the system, making it more dynamic, aggressive, and adaptable to various match situations. Since Chavi took over as head coach of FC Barcelona in 2021, the right winger became one of the team's primary offensive weapons. The idea was always clear: give Ousmane Dembélé the freedom to attack, beat defenders, and create one-on-one advantages. Dembélé was the key player in Xavi's offensive system. Always operating wide on the right, he served as the team's vertical reference. His speed and short dribbling allowed Barca to break through lines and unsettle opposing defences. Despite his occasional lapses in decision-making, his ability to eliminate defenders made him a constant threat. Dembélé's explosive impact was supported by a very clear tactical basis. Barcelona did not employ overlapping runs on the right flank. With Jules Koundé or João Cancelo deployed as fullbacks, the team ensured defensive solidity, but sacrificed depth on that side, leaving Dembélé to assume all the offensive protagonism on the right. However, despite his impact, Dembélé was a player of moments, not of consistency. His game relied too much on his individual flair, and when he wasn't at his best, Barca struggled to create danger. With Hansi Flick's arrival, the concept of verticality in attack evolved. from a Barcelona that depended on a single dribbler to a more dynamic team with multiple offensive solutions on the right flank. The major difference under Flick's leadership is that verticality no longer depends on just one player. With Rafinha and Lamine Yamal, the team has gained more tactical options, unpredictability, and an improved offensive structure. While Rafinha shares Dembele's ability to dribble and beat defenders, his impact on the team is different. He demonstrates a greater capacity to combine with midfielders and fullbacks. He makes better decisions in the final third. He shows more defensive commitment to help close down spaces during transitions. His effectiveness in delivering crosses has benefited Lewandowski. Dembele may have had superior dribbling skills, but Rafinha knows when to accelerate and when to pause to choose the best option. They now benefit from more combinations and collective movement to create scoring opportunities. When it comes to verticality, Lamine Yamal is the big revelation in Flick's Barca. At just 16 years old, he is already one of the team's most decisive players. He possesses exceptional one-on-one dribbling ability. Unlike Dembele, he makes better decisions on his final pass and inside the box. He is capable of playing wide or cutting inside to create play. While Dembele was explosive yet erratic, Lamine Yamal is more intelligent with the ball, knowing when to accelerate and when to slow the game down. With Flick, Lamine not only has the freedom to take on defenders one-on-one, but also has been given the role of linking up with the midfield to create plays in more central areas. Furthermore, Flick has found ways to maximise his impact by employing a more attacking fullback behind him. Unlike Chavi, who used more defensive fullbacks on the right, Flick has allowed João Cancelo to push forward, generating additional combinations on that flank and more offensive options for the team.